How would you get $400,000 of illegal goods onto a plane? The correct answer is you wouldn't. But some clever crooks have certainly tried to, in some of the wackiest ways imaginable. But have you ever seen a man disguise a turtle as a KFC burger? Or a lady take her deceased husband on a plane? Keep your eyes peeled. All isn't as it seems as we look at the smartest smugglers in all history. The unusual suspects. Oh, hey, you must be the new detective. Do you think you could help us identify someone we believe is bringing illegal contraband into the country? Yeah, just let me know which of the following 5 suspects you think looks guilty. Ready? Okay, take it away, boys. Suspect 1, Suspect 2, Suspect 3, Suspect 4, and finally, Suspect 5. Make sure to lock your answers in the comments. I'll give you a second. Okay, ready? If you said suspect number 5, you were right. I know, shocking, isn't it? In 2007, Australian Customs caught this Mr. Potato Head transporting 10.5 ounces of highly illegal tablets stashed in his back passage. No, not like that. I mean his actual back passage where he keeps his spare face parts. Experts say the contraband could have been worth up to $30,000. Zoinks! You hate to see it. Andy stops wanting to play, so the toys turn to crime. How did you do? Alright, I've got 5 new suspects if you fancy another go. Alright, Suspect 1, Suspect 2, Suspect 3, Suspect 4, and last but not least, Suspect 5. That Suspect 5 looks shifty to me. Okay, ready for the answer? If you said Suspect 4, then give yourself a pat on the back. Yep, in 2012, someone got busted for smuggling firearms into Green Airport, Rhode Island, inside their kid's favorite toy, none other than the famous mouse himself. Looks like the clubhouse have a few tricky years ahead of them. Hey, not bad for your first day. But what do you say to some harder cases? Let's go. Not so sly sarcophagus. Is anybody else a nervous flyer? I'm too scared to get on a plane without my mommy, and I'm not alone. In 2008, agents at Miami Airport caught someone trying to sneak their mummy through customs. The difference is their mummy was a whopping 3,000 years old. Huh? Yeah, I said mummy, not mommy. The sarcophagus was made for Prince Emezi, a high-ranking Egyptian nobleman, although truth be told, he was no longer in there. Still, you'd get suspicious seeing an empty coffin from the 21st dynasty coming around the luggage carousel, right? Well, what surprised officials was the lack of shipping documents accompanying this strange artifact. You'd think getting an ancient sarcophagus from Egypt to Miami would require a butt-ton of documents and clearance from the Egyptian government, wouldn't ya? Well, there was none. And when investigators took it one step further, they discovered that the coffin had been smuggled out of Egypt way back in the 1970s. After spending years hidden underground and a brief spell as part of an exhibit in Madrid in 2007, the importer was trying to sneak it into the US, presumably for a high-profile buyer. Nevertheless, justice prevailed, and the precious prince was returned to Egypt in 2010 where it belongs. Now all we've got to do is convince Britain to give back all the stuff they stole. Case for freedom. Want to know why I stay clear of the smuggle life? I'm not cut out for prison. There's no Chick-fil-A in the calaboose, and Papa needs his waffle fries. And I'm not the only one who's not keen on the clink. Ibrahim Jose Vargas Garcia was serving 9 years and 8 months in the Jose Antonio Enzo Ategui prison in Venezuela for car robbery. But Ibrahim had decided enough was enough, so he concocted a master plan to smuggle himself out of there. Only it didn't exactly go how he had expected. See, when his sweet señorita, Antonieta Robles Sauda, came to visit Ibrahim, the guards couldn't help but wonder why she was pulling a giant pink suitcase behind her. But they were even more skeptical when she left and was suddenly struggling to drag it along. So they stopped her. And when they opened that bad boy up, prison security found Ibrahim curled up inside. Ah, sweet lord. You've got to be kidding me. They say don't pack your troubles, but he's packed himself, his troubles, and years of spinal problems. The guards promptly escorted him back to his cell to have a long, hard think about what he'd done. As for Antonietta, she was also detained. Hey, at least now these star-crossed lovers never have to be apart again. Maybe they could ask for adjoining cells. Just like star-crossed lovers Antonietta and Ibren, my like and subscribe buttons come as a package too. So why don't you go ahead and show some affection to them, and in return I'll sweeten the deal with more incredible content. Right on, let's get back to the video. Snake Smuggler. After nasty substances, weapons, and people, it may come as a surprise that wildlife is the fourth most valuable illicit economy in the world. Every year it makes an eye-watering $20 billion for criminal markets. Sheesh. Many animals are outright banned from being privately owned, so criminals can often sell them for exorbitant prices. At least that's what one Norwegian citizen was hoping for. He got busted at customs because officials noticed something beneath his shirt was in constant motion. But I don't think they were ready for what he was actually hiding. No less than 14 pythons were under there, individually coiled up inside socks. Snakes? Surely that's dangerous. Well, they were only babies, but it's definitely cruel to do that to any animal. And that wasn't all. When authorities asked him to drop his trousers, they found a further 10 cans taped to his legs containing albino gecko lizards. In Norway, many kinds of reptiles are banned from being kept as pets, so reptile smuggling isn't that uncommon. Still, this crafty criminal was landed with a hefty fine for his misdemeanors, and rightfully so. Yolks on you. The real risk with being any kind of mule is getting caught. You don't want to be the one with the egg on your face, right? Well, for Jeffrey Lendrum, his biggest concern was getting egg everywhere else. In 2018, he was caught at Heathrow Airport, London, with a stash of 19 rare bird eggs strapped to his body. How? Well, probably with a contraption like this. Jeffrey attempted to hide 17 rare hawk eggs, an eagle egg, and a vulture egg against his chest, and he had 2 chicks in an incubator which had hatched before he could land. On the bird black market, these eggs could fetch a staggering $125,000. And this isn't the first time Pablo Escobar here had been caught. Back in 2010, he was stopped in Dubai with 14 peregrine falcon eggs strapped to his stomach and jailed for 30 months. And again in 2015, he was caught stealing falcon eggs from Patagonia. Surely you'd think of a smarter way to secure the bag after all that. Well, El Jefe says it's not about the money. He insists that he's trying to protect the birds as their native habitat is being destroyed by tree felling. But what this bird-brained bozo doesn't consider is when these eggs hatch, the chicks will have to be raised by hand. And once they've been raised by humans, it's impossible to return them to the wild. So Jeffrey is causing more harm than he's preventing. What a schmuck. Perfect crime. Whether you prefer dogs or cats, we all love our pets. But some cat enthusiasts are willing to spend big money for Big Kitty. Back in 2022, police in Thailand busted smugglers trying to sell a 4-month-old tiger cub from a parking lot in Nonthaburi. Aww, wait a minute. How on earth do you get a tiger through security? That's the second weird thing to see coming around the carousel. The men admitted to smuggling the cub into the country from neighboring Laos, probably in the back of a car, and had been advertising it on Facebook of all places. If you're wondering how much a tiger cub goes for, they were asking for just under $12,000. But before you start counting up your pennies, privately owning tigers in Thailand was outlawed after 1992. Not that that stopped Piawan Palasarn from being a wannabe Carol Baskin. Authorities noticed her acting strangely as she was checking in for her flight from Suvarnabhumi to Iran. Her suitcase looked very large, so employees scanned it and found, hidden amongst stuffed tiger toys, a real 2-month-old tiger. The little one was pretty sleepy from whatever medication had been given to knock it out for the flight, but thankfully it was unharmed. Piawan could receive up to 4 years in prison and a $1,300 fine. Still, things could have been a lot worse. Picture a baby tiger jumping out of the person behind you's luggage as you're trying to check in. Worst start to a vacation ever. Throw it in the trunk. I'll never forget the time my dad caught me smoking darts behind the shed. He made me smoke the whole pack then and there to teach me a lesson. Still, it could have been worse. In 2015, a group of Russian smugglers were caught trying to smuggle 500,000 Belarusian cigarettes inside of a hollowed-out tree trunk. My lungs hurt just thinking about it. See, the cigarettes were headed towards the UK and Germany, where, due to extremely high taxes, a pack of smokes can cost upwards of $15. But in Belarus, they're as little as $1.50. That's a mind-boggling 10 times less. So, illegal cigarette smuggling is rife and costs European countries over $10 billion every year in lost tax revenue. Bummer. And these Russian smugglers would have gotten away with it. That is, if they hadn't failed to account for one minor detail. Now, I consider myself pretty well versed in science, but even a total dingus should know that the center of a tree trunk weighs more than packs of cigarettes. So when the authorities came to check this giant log, it was light as a feather. Immediately, they knew something fishy was going on. Duh. I guess you could say the smugglers' futures are ending up like their smuggled goods, up in smoke. Seat for sore eyes. You've heard the rumors, and it really is true. Life is a highway, and I do want to ride it all night long. Unless that highway goes across the US-Mexico border crossing. In 2021 alone, a stonking 1.6 million undocumented people were caught trying to cross the border. Yikes. And that's just the ones who got caught. When an 18-year-old woman attempted to drive across the Calexico West point of entry in a black Mitsubishi, a Border Patrol canine sensed something suspicious stashed beneath the back seats. When the patrol agents lifted them up, they found a 48-year-old man hiding beneath them. Darn. You know it was hot in there, too. That boy must have been cooking. Hiding beneath the seats is rookie behavior, though. You want to know what the real pros do? They become the seat. Oh my. In 2001, Enrique Aguilar Canchola had the genius idea of stitching himself into the seat as he tried to cross California's San Ysidro border crossing. Imagine what went through the border officer's head as they found this. Excuse me, ma'am. Do you mind if we check the back seats quickly? Whoa! Hey, Carl, come look at this. Wait, did you bring the camera? Jerry, get over here and bring your camera. You're not going to believe this. Hey, where's Clyde? I don't care if he's on lunch. Tell him to put down his sweaty bologna sandwich and get over here. Hey, buddy, say cheese. Nah, I know this is a serious matter, but seeing Enrique here really tickled me. There's no way that would ever work. Fish pants. If I'm flying, I want to fly in comfort. I'm talking sweatpants, hoodies, sneakers. The last thing I want is to be stuck in a small seat for 8 hours in, I don't know, an apron full of fish. Well, Sharon Naismith wore exactly that for her flight between Singapore and Melbourne. She stashed 15 water-filled plastic bags containing a staggering 51 live fish around the unusual garment. And some of the fish were big. One bag contained Queen Arabesque plecos, another had Burmese border loach, and one even had an arowana worth a whopping $37,500. Sadly for Sharon, she ended up being Border Force's catch of the day when authorities grew suspicious of the constant flapping sound coming from her, undergarment. Incredibly, she got away with just 9 months of community service for her crimes, but it could have been a lot worse. I'm talking an $83,000 fine and 10 years in prison worse. This flapping felon really got off the hook with that one. Secret spirits. Now it's time for a little history lesson. What? You thought smuggling was just a today issue? Wrong. People have been trying to get their hands on forbidden fancies since, well, forever. Take the Prohibition. Between 1920 and 1933, the US government went major buzzkill mode and banned all booze. Manufacturing, importing, transporting, and selling all became a serious criminal offense. Boo! Wait, what's wrong with alcohol? Well, nothing in moderation. But the 1920s was a free-for-all. Health and hygiene fell into massive problems. And there was a huge tax burden brought on by the prisons and poorhouses. So the government tried to force a mass abstinence program. But when people want something, they'll find a way to get it. Bootlegging became all too common as citizens found ways to obtain their desired refreshments. Smaller quantities could easily be concealed in clever custom outfits. But what if you wanted to move large quantities? Well, then you'd want something like this. This lumber truck was cleverly hollowed out to safely transport liquor. Sadly, these smart smugglers got caught as two federal agents you can see here could smell the potent party potion. See, by trying to outlaw it, it only created opportunities for more crime. By 1925, New York had anywhere from 30,000 to a monstrous 100,000 illegal speakeasy clubs where people could drink in secret. Hey, trust the New Yorkers to know how to party even if it's illegal. Concealing car. Hypothetically speaking, if you were to try and stash something about your car, where would you put it? Under your seat, in the glove box? Neither are bad ideas, but nowhere near as genius as this pickup mod by Black Sheep Innovations. Take a look. Whoa, that's genius! They've modified the taillights on this Toyota Helix to contain a secret compartment. Now I gotta say, neither I nor I'd hope Black Sheep Innovations support using this for criminal activities. They say it's perfect for guns, tools, fishing kit. Me, I'd load that bad boy with glizzies for my long camping trips. I'm just saying, in the wrong hands, this could be used for a whole load of naughty. Still, it's not the most souped-up sleeper I've ever seen. Ready to see what is? Boom! Now, I don't know which master mechanic is responsible for this, but the number plate is from Panama, and as for what they're hiding, it's hard to tell. But for legal reasons, let's say it's money and move swiftly onwards. I don't want to get in trouble with the YouTube police. Harrowing hairlines. Last summer, I was flying back from my vacation in Turkey, and I couldn't help but notice all these guys with funny bandages around their heads. Surely they can't all have hit their heads. Well, however odd they looked, they've got nothing on Magroob Akbarali and Zubair Hassan Rafiuddin. Their insane hairstyles caught the attention of police at Chennai International Airport in India, who pulled them both in for questioning. It turned out their wonky weaves weren't the most criminal thing about their person. They'd taped 24.5 ounces of gold paste between their wacky wigs. But it didn't end there. The more airport staff searched, the more gold they found. It was in their socks and even up their... I can't even bring myself to say it. In total, authorities confiscated almost $400,000 worth of gold. Jeepers. Shockingly, the same exact thing happened just 2 days earlier, where 3 different men were arrested for hiding gold beneath their hairpieces. Jeepers. Hey, I bet security found it a truly hair-raising experience, though. Get it? I'll see myself out. Snacks on a plane. There's nothing worse than being halfway through a flight and getting the tummy rumbles. Sometimes that plane food just doesn't hit the right spot. But one German passenger back in 2019 tried boarding the plane at Schönefeld Airport in Berlin with some rather unusual flight snacks. Tucked under his arm was a box of goodies from Étoile Pâtisserie. However, upon closer inspection, customs officers noticed the croissants were kind of funny looking. Anyone else think they look a little tortoisey? Well, according to the German passenger, that's because they were chocolate tortoises. However, he's a liar. Yep, he was trying to smuggle 3 live Moroccan tortoises on board, disguised as tasty mid-flight snacks. Now, he could be fined up to $53,000 or face 4 years in prison. That's crazy. But it's not the most audacious thing someone's tried to dress their pet up as. A Chinese man called Lee tried disguising his pet turtle as a KFC burger. There's no turtle in there, just a burger. Come again? Yep, that's a pretty silly lie to get caught in. Except, even when security at Guangzhou Baiyun International Airport confronted Lee with the truth, he doubled down and said, "There's no turtle in there, just a burger." Geez, my guy, it's got arms. I know KFC chicken gets a bad rep, but even they draw the line at something that crunchy. Airplane mode. Yeah, I still put my phone on airplane mode when I'm flying. I know it's not necessary anymore, but old habits die hard. You might think I'm silly, but if you were flying with this guy, you'd be praying he does the same. Holy smokes. After setting off a metal detector at the border crossing between China and Hong Kong, this Chinese citizen was busted for trying to smuggle a ridiculous 94 iPhones taped to his body. Ooh, is it just me or is he kinda slaying? Back in 2015, iPhone 5S and 6S were all the rage, and getting your hands on these heavily favored handsets in China was darn near impossible. So, smugglers bringing the goods in from Hong Kong could make a lot of money. These 94 phones were bought for around $50,000, but they could have been flipped for a lot more. That's not too shabby. When police dug into the man's records, they discovered he was a repeat offender with a long history of smuggling items into China from Hong Kong. It's not looking good for our friend in the iPhone wingsuit, but on the bright side, it could have been a lot worse. All it would take is one text to the wrong number, and you might actually make this poor guy's nuts explode. Bun and rubber. There's nothing worse than going on a road trip and getting a flat tire. Well, Maria Isabel Moreno from Las Cruces, Mexico, found a pretty ingenious way to make sure she never gets one. But it also probably landed her in jail. She was driving a 2002 Ford Explorer through El Paso, Texas, when cops pulled her over for a routine check of the vehicle. They didn't find anything at first, but then their sniffer dog caught a whiff of the tires, and boy. Put it this way, the smell was a lot more potent than hot rubber. When the officers scanned Maria's tires with a density meter, they uncovered 166 pounds of imported Mexican herb, and I don't mean oregano. In total, they suspect that the street value of this contraband was over an astonishing $130,000. Kerching. The illegal goods were confiscated, and Maria was turned over to customs enforcement to face charges. Not a bad day in the office. I guess her master plan ended up falling flat after all. Fugitive family. You know when your friend tells you about their vacation and you jokingly ask them to pack you in their suitcase? Surely that's just a silly joke, right? No one's actually... we know where this is going. Yep, horrifyingly, 2 parents tried smuggling their 8-year-old child from Morocco to the Canary Islands by, hiding him in a suitcase. Or at least hiring people to do so. What? See, both mom and dad had legally moved to the Spanish islands months earlier, but couldn't bring their son, Adao Urtara, with them for financial reasons. At first, the parents had tried getting Adao to them lawfully, but authorities told them that their income fell short of the national requirement. So, Adao's father sought out an unsavory method of reuniting his family: smugglers. Only the boy's dad had no idea that the people he enlisted to bring his son into the country planned to stuff him into a woman's suitcase. Fortunately, Adao was detected by the baggage scanners and saved from a dangerous journey. A month later, the family were all reunited in Spain, where the boy was granted a year to stay and give the family time to figure out how best to proceed. Nevertheless, I sure hope they learned their lesson from this tough scrape and that Adao is doing a lot better. What a horrible experience to go through. Horrific homecoming. So far, we've seen some pretty shocking things that people have tried to take onto aircraft. However, those are nothing compared to what Geeta Gerent and her daughter, Ankia Nusik, were caught trying to board with at Liverpool's John Lennon Airport. They were rushing through check-in for their flight to Berlin, pushing Geeta's husband, a 91-year-old Kurt Willie Gerent, in a wheelchair in front of them. But staff couldn't help but notice something unsettling about Mr. Gerent. He was very, very still. Like, totally unresponsive still. And no one could get a good look at him because of the big, dark glasses he was wearing. One brave staff member stepped up to check his pulse and felt her stomach wrench. She couldn't find it. Mr. Gerent was cold and clammy to the touch. Oh my God, Kurt was dead! What's more, after inspecting the body, experts determined he'd been dead for up to 12 hours. Jeez. Geeta and Anki were arrested for failing to report a dead body, but they claimed that when they got into the taxi from their home in Oldham, just 1 hour's drive away, Kurt had been very much alive. Sure, he looked pale and ropey, but they were insistent he was still kicking it, not kicking the bucket. They just thought he was tired. Turns out Kurt was tired of this mortal hellhole and went for the big sleep. How bizarre. Whether what they're saying is true or not, I don't know. But they were later released without charge. Still, it's made for one of the strangest stories I've ever heard. I just hope they weren't going to give him the aisle seat. Imagine brushing past a dead dude every time you got a tinkle. That's the end of the video. Feels good to take your boots off after a long day busting crime, huh? Which of those conniving crooks shocked you the most? Let me know down in the comments, and thanks for watching.